My name is Rachel Carson, and in this podcast, I'm going to tell you about the Big 12 Gods of Greek mythology. In Chapter 6 of The Lightning Thief by Rick Warden, the readers are introduced to the different cabins at Camp Half-Blood. When Annabeth walked Percy up to the cabins, she explained that each cabin is associated with a particular god, and the campers who live in that cabin are related to the god. Cabins 1, 2, and 3 are empty. They are the cabins of Zeus, Hera, and Poseidon. In this podcast, I'm going to introduce you to each of the gods and goddesses that represent the 12 cabins at Camp Half-Blood, so that you can have a stronger background knowledge of the Greek gods. Cabin 1 is associated with Zeus. Zeus is the leader of the Olympian gods and the god of the sky, lightning, and thunder. He rules the Olympians. He married Hera, his sister, which seemed to be a habit in his family. He was also the father to many children with various goddesses and mortals. Cabin 2 is associated with Hera. Hera is the goddess of marriage and childbirth and was the protector of marriage in the home. She was associated with the peacock because of her great beauty. She and Zeus were always quarreling, and she was known to be jealous of his attention towards other women. Cabin 3 is associated with Poseidon. Poseidon is the god of the sea. He built an underwater palace. And although he married a beautiful water nymph, he, like his brother Zeus, was father to many children from different women. He was a difficult god that often argued with others. He also invented the horse as a gift for his sister Demeter, whom he loved. Cabin 4 is associated with Demeter. Demeter is the goddess of growing things. Her daughter was kidnapped by Hades and taken to the underworld for 6 months of the year, which was the cause of the changing of the seasons. Cabin 5 is associated with Ares. Ares is the god of war. He was a ruthless and murderous god who displayed the worst of humanity's traits. He was known to stir up grief, strife, panic, and terror. Cabin 6 is associated with Athena. Athena is the goddess of battle and wisdom. She was born fully grown out of Zeus's head. She taught man to use tools and woman to spin and weave. She was the most loved goddess on Olympus. But she hated Ares, the god of war, whom she often challenged in battle. The Greek city of Athens was named after her. Cabin 7 is associated with Apollo. Apollo is the sun god, the god of music, poetry, and wisdom. He was the twin brother of Artemis and supposedly the most handsome of all the gods. He was also the god of the healing arts and of medicine. He drove his chariot across the sky daily to pull the sun. Cabin 8 is associated with Artemis. Artemis is the goddess of the woods, moon, and the hunt. She was the twin sister of Apollo, whose mother was Leto and father was Zeus. She was a skilled hunter who always carried a silver bow and arrows. Cabin 9 is associated with Hephaestus. Hephaestus is the god of fire, volcanoes, and the forge. He was supposedly the ugliest of the gods, and was rejected by his mother Hera when she hurled him off of Mount Olympus, crippling him. He fashioned the armor and tools of the gods on a broken mountain near Mount Olympus, and he also made beautiful jewelry for the goddesses. Cabin 10 is associated with Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the goddess of love and beauty. She was the goddess of desire born from sea foam. After all the gods on Mount Olympus pursued her for her hand in marriage, she finally married Hephaestus, who was the ugliest of all the gods. And because she was judged the most beautiful of all the goddesses on Mount Olympus, the other goddesses always envied her. Cabin 11 is associated with Hermes. Hermes is the god of mischief and serves as the messenger of the gods. As a baby, he made a lyre and a pipe for his half-brother Apollo. He carried Apollo's golden staff and flew around the heavens and earth on winged sandals. Cabin 12 is associated with Dionysus. Dionysus is the god of revelry and the vine. He is said to be the only god on Olympus with a mortal parent. His creation of wine brings drunkenness to his revelers. Much of the world's greatest poetry was created in his honor. In conclusion, Camp Half-Blood is home to 12 cabins that each represented the Big 12 of Mount Olympus. Now that you have a stronger foundation of knowledge on each of these gods and goddesses, you can fill in your graphic organizer with each of the cabins labeled with some information about each of the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus.